Hello, good evening and welcome to Joy News Prime. Coming up this hour, over 23,000 people test positive for HIV in the first half of 2022.
Economic hardship in the country is contributing to the higher cases of HIV. Most jobless girls are falling victim.
Also, one person killed in renewed clashes between Kojo and Timbon in Tripoli. Now, head of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority describes as frivolous and vexatious allegations that he aided in tax evasion. We have leaked internal memos that highlight the deep-seated animosity among officers in charge of Ghana's revenue mobilization. Now, Mamobi resident protest 21-day deadline to vacate their current location to make way for the government's world-class residential enclave.
Life is difficult. I've not been working for almost, let me say, a year plus. We are begging the government, please, he should let us stay, please.
Now, over 23,000 people have tested positive for HIV in the first half of 2022. Despite the figure being slightly lower than that of the same period last year, the Ghana AIDS Commission is, however, worried and intends to intensify education. In 2021, the Ashanti region topped HIV infection cases recorded in the country. Over 73,000 persons in the region were reported to have been living with the disease. With the recent revelation by the National STIs and HIV and AIDS Control Program, some residents in the region are concerned with the increase in numbers and are calling for intensified education.
It's a spiritual disease. Prayers can prevent you from being infected by HIV/AIDS. Economic hardship in the country is contributing to the higher cases of HIV. Most jobless girls are falling victims.
We are worried there. Nanso min esi na nkasa de me won so ba kura to mada wase one ne da unya is.
You can't get it if your partner wears waist beads. AIDS is no longer deadly. There's a treatment for it now. But if the young girls had something doing, they won't be forced to go and have sex indiscriminately.
Like Newma say AC Dronia de Crabano. Education also more.
Very worried about it because when you see it, it has a great effect on the youth, especially the young man who has gone into it. So when you have gone into it, when you try doing it, it's not only about how it will affect you as a youth, but how it will affect the country as a youth.
Me worried because Ghana HIV are there. I'm trying to say it's Europa. Say about family more.
Most Ghanaians are scared of HIV. Infected persons are stigmatized mostly. Young people like myself should desist from having multiple partners. Girls of today do not like working. They prefer sleeping around with men for money. The government should intervene to help reduce the numbers.
Girls now,
Although some people doubt the rates of HIV infection, deeming it as a spiritual one, others are calling for an intensified education on the infection. From Kumasi for Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bryan.
Meanwhile, Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Treme Etuahine, says the adult population must endeavor to know their status and also make effort to have protected sex. The director, however, expressed worry over transactional sex, which is fast becoming a growing trend in the country.
And it's creating a lot of psychological problems even for young ladies. And so it is something that we keep talking about, and I'm happy you have brought it up. Transactional sex is an important factor here, and the number of people who are involved is quite large. So it is that a number of people are into sex work, both male and female, and that is also a major risk factor. And unfortunately, some of the men who use the services of sex workers refuse to use condoms when even the sex workers themselves have offered the condoms for use. And sometimes they even become violent because they insist they are paying for it, and therefore they determine the terms of the arrangement. And so when one is giving a condom, it's only for the person's own interest to protect that person. And so we know that from what we have read in the graphic yesterday, we know that sex workers, they are one of the group of people who are high risk and can spread the virus. And so we dedicate a lot of resources and efforts to work with them and ensure that they use condoms at all times.
Meanwhile, a public health expert, Dr. John Amwesi, says the public must be made to understand that in spite of the availability of retroviral medicines, AIDS cannot be cured.
Well, I mean, the current scientific consensus in the general sense is that HIV/AIDS is not curable. Now, when we say curable, what we mean is that the virus will not disappear entirely from your system. But the argument would be, who really cares if you can live a normal life and also if you can be in a state where you cannot transmit the virus? And this is why I made mention of the fact that viral suppression is really a powerful thing we need to achieve. Because here, the virus has not completely disappeared, but it's so compressed or suppressed that it does not really affect your way of life. And it does not also, it wouldn't also be transmitted to others. And so I think the argument about whether it's curable or not is not as poignant an issue as it used to be before. Nonetheless, research is going on. There's always one news item here and there or there talking about how they've achieved some successful elimination of the virus from somebody's system, but there's no publicly available FDA-approved cure for HIV at the moment. The good thing is that access to testing, access to treatments in Ghana remains free, and making people aware of this so they're not afraid to test and also not afraid to go to health facilities for treatment and know where to go is so critical. And I know the Ghana Health AIDS Commission has really been doing this over several decades, and I'm sure Dr. Etuahine can throw more light on exactly how this is being.
Now to other stories, and the Kumasi Traditional Council has requested that Oyerpa FM, a radio station operating in Kumasi, stops broadcasting from Friday, August 26th until further notice. Their crime was giving their platform to the 2020 flag bearer of the United Progressive Party, UPP, to denigrate the Asantehene. The traditional chiefs in the Ashanti region came under fire from Akwesi Adai, also known as Odike, a guest on the political talk show on Oyerpa FM, for failing to combat illegal mining. He accused the chiefs of aiding in Galamsey since they have looked on unconcerned whilst forest and water bodies are destroyed. The businessman cum politician threatened to lead the youth to stage a massive demonstration against Menchia if the Galamsey menace continues. The Kumasi Traditional Council was offended by this remark and declared it to be a form of rebellion against Asante Mine. Hence, Odike was banished from stepping at Menchia. Bafo Amankwetia the Seth addressed the delegation from Oyerepa FM and TV.
Someone see ya odike card your pen. I am on a man platform money. Na odike kasade nkontimi nye. Efisa asam na mfa mo ho fisa asam ketoa bi. Na ka wo bei. Enka dibumemu odro ya nananu mehu a yeni beso.
You gave Odike the platform to say all that he said without caution. If you want us to accept your apology and show remorse, then announce to your listeners that you erred and apologize. Again, if you want Menchia to give you your hearing, then you have to close down your radio station from Friday, August 26th until the pending issue is resolved. If not, we won't take it lightly when you appear before us again.
Radio station no na no ne hu se monya no hu na sai no dia madia menya sure se mo ba ha na nanom nyum betini mremremre.
Tonight, Oyerepa FM has offered an unqualified apology to Asantehene to try and calm nerves. The statement released tonight indicates that the one on Wednesday, 18th August 2022, Nanayao Mensah Joel, host of Oyerepa Breakfast Show on Oyerepa 100.7 FM, Edum Kumasi, invited 3 persons, namely Professor Abuaji Da Costa of KNUST, Dr. Emmanuel Amankwa of KNUST, and Akwesi Adai Odike, founder and leader of the United Progressive Party, for a panel discussion. Among the issues discussed on the day was the rate at which galamsey operations in the region has destroyed and still destroying our land. The host of the show asked members on his panel to suggest measures that could help curtail the menace. In the course of the discussion, Akwesi Adai Odike called on Menchia to intervene and went ahead to issue some unpalatable comment in a submission. The host of the show asked him to desist from attacking the royal house. Now, so these are the statement released there. It continues to say, several attempts to stop Odike proved futile, and the host had to change the topic on galamsey since Odike was not heeding to his call. The Chief Executive Officer, Management and host of the show unreservedly apologized to the noble house for the inconveniences that the show might have caused. We would like to indicate that we have no intention to disregard the royal house. We would like to assure Menchia that this will not happen again, and it's signed by Ochsema Nkwa. So that's the statement from the Oyerepa FM there. Now, what does the man at the center of all of this make of this happening? Why did he fail to appear before the committee? Akwesi Adai has been speaking to my colleague, Evans Mensah.
I've been banished from Menchia Palace, and traditional instructions has to be respected.
But you are in Kumasi?
At the moment, no.
So you've left the Ashanti region entirely?
Yes, I am somewhere. I'm at my hideout anyway.
You're at a hideout?
Yes.
Okay, you were asked to apologize. Are you willing to apologize?
Till now, I don't know where I went wrong. Until normally in our traditional settings, if you do something or you say something against the authorities, they will bring you before them, pinpoint where you went wrong, and then you apologize. But in this case, they did not call me, and they did all this at my back. And I wasn't around when they sanctioned all this. So I don't know exactly where I went wrong. But tradition demands that I should have been present for them to tell me this statement is not, it doesn't please us. So retract it and render apology. So they didn't ask me anything. They just slaughter a sheep and then banish me from Menchia, casting snare on my personality. So I don't know exactly what is happening. They have rather flouted the traditional rules, and now they are doing everything to throw dust into the eyes of the people. But they have to come out and say that it didn't follow the due traditional process.
Now, head of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority describes as frivolous and vexatious allegations that he aided in tax evasion. Some leaked internal memos highlighted the deep-seated animosity among the officers in charge of Ghana's revenue mobilization. In October 2021, the then Deputy National Security Coordinator, Edward Asemani, wrote a letter to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority. It was to report a disturbing development as he wanted an allegation of tax evasion investigated. A customs intelligence team is said to have intercepted and arrested 2 cargo trucks at the Jolu traffic light on suspicion of underdeclaration and misdescription of goods. The current head of the Customs Division of the GRA, Colonel retired Kojo Damwa, is said to have aided the evasion, but today he's fighting back. My colleague Kweku Asante has copies of the leaked internal memos on the subject and joins us on Zoom. Kweku, what triggered the storm?
So, Grace, this storm first came up when the National Security Secretariat wrote to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority to draw their attention to some specific issues regarding evasion of taxes under declaration, which specifically cited Colonel Damwa as being involved because the arresting officers mentioned him as the one who made some calls to them to stop this. When this allegation did get to the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, he wrote to the officers who had been mentioned for them to specifically give their response. They all gave their response and said that the issue was completely a fabrication, which was meant to throw dust into the eyes of the Commissioner General, and which was meant to tarnish the reputation of Colonel Damwa in particular, and then another who was mentioned. There's also an intelligence report, also from one Johnny Agbawu, also sent same to the Assistant Commissioner in charge of intelligence, regarding a similar allegation that a certain vehicle was also impounded here in Accra. And the drivers involved also placed calls to Colonel Damwa for him to be freed. And Colonel Damwa actually made that order. That is the allegation that Johnny Agbawu, who is writing this memo, the allegation he made to the Assistant Commissioner in charge of the Intelligence Unit. These allegations were all referred to Colonel Damwa, who has a detailed response, Grace.
Now, we understand that there's a response from the Commissioner General of the GRA.
So the Commissioner General wrote to all of these people and then afterwards wrote to the National Security to say that, reference your letter dated 21st October, all the officers denied that they made or received calls from any importer whatsoever on that day. Meanwhile, a report submitted by John Agbawu on the incident of trucks and the registration of the car numbers, it says, did not mention the names of the officers of having placed a call to him and talk to someone else on the phone. It is instructive to note that the Commissioner of Customs in his response vehemently denied the said allegations. So this is a letter that was written to the National Security again on these specific allegations, saying that Colonel Damwa and other officers who were mentioned in this investigation had all denied their involvement.
Now, finally, Colonel Damwa, who is at the center of the controversy, has a response as well.
Yes. So there is a long memo that was written by Colonel Damwa to the Commissioner General, specifically detailing his response. And the instructive part is to say that, indeed, even the day that the allegation is made against him, he was not in Accra. He said he was in Aflao with the Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister to check certain things, and that he could not have made calls within that period. He goes on to say that he wants an independent investigation initiated into the matter so that these specific allegations, which he feels are defamatory publications, will be investigated and the appropriate intentions established. These are exactly the issues Colonel Damwa raised. It's a lengthy explanation to the Commissioner General in charge of the Ghana Revenue Authority. But essentially, Colonel Damwa explained that he had no knowledge of the allegations that were being made against him.
Asante with the details there. Now, moving on to other stories now. Hundreds of residents of Mamobi in the Ayawaso North Municipality of the Greater Accra region are asking government to give them more time to vacate an area designated for a market. The residents who have been demonstrating say they have been given 3 weeks to vacate the area. Clad in red and black, they poured out onto the street asking for at least a year to relocate. There's more in the following report.
Residents of Mamobi in red and black on the streets of Accra, protesting plans to demolish an area they have lived for many decades. They have been issued eviction notices by the Ayawaso North Municipal Assembly. Per the notice, they have up to 21 days to vacate the area, but the residents are unhappy. Joy News understands the area has been designated by the local assembly for a market.
Because we are citizens, we have our own right.
One month, 2 weeks, baby, and I did a CS. I can't move. Because of the situation, I can't stay in the house. This is the baby.
Margaret Sedwoji Ziga is a mother of 3. The mere thought of having to leave moves her to tears.
Life is difficult. I've not been working for almost, let me say, a year plus. Because for 9 good months, I've stayed in the house. My husband, he's no more working. And we are in the house. One of our firstborn is writing exams this very year, and the other ones are also here. This the second one, the third one, and the other one too. So we are begging the government, please, he should let us stay, please.
Her son, Nelson Ziga, also joined the protest. He says his education will be truncated should they be asked to relocate.
Mamobi is my best house. I want they should give us a month to live there because we can't use 1 month to live there.
I mean, if you are asked to leave, how would that affect the education that you are having?
They can repeat me. They can repeat me in another school.
Margaret and her son are just 2 of the thousands that will be affected by the move. They are asking for more time.
But
you see, I know what sitting and so saying.
You want to many baby, but now, me kuno so yare, many baby, me di kukrako. Nti o them, minya sika susu.
Nti anka opese ye modern sisi e ma momre kakra.
We are pleading for the government that at least if you should see us and at least give us some time. You understand? Even if some compensation self and relief, why not? It's okay. But to me, if like give us time, oh okay, because of this, we will give us time like this. You understand? Then everybody have agreed on it. Then we went. But you
this is our room. They are attacking us. Where are you going to? We have nowhere. God help us. Oh,
Pacho, yes, sir. 28 days nation. Mr. Mofa America cranka my home. No be a conto my best 1 year, 2 years. Never year prepare.
Assemblyman for the Mamobi electoral area, Wisdom Boaten, is asking government to intervene.
We are saying is that we cannot litigate with the state. And therefore the state should intervene with this issue. And also to talk to Ayawaso North Municipal Assembly, the MCE, Honorable Aminu Zakari Mohammed, that we are Ghanaians. We are not disputing the fact that the land belongs to the state. But at least they should have a human face.
countless petitions that have been sent to the MC for the Ayawaso North area, together with the Member of Parliament and some notable government agencies, have failed to yield the needed results. They are hoping that this protest will bring them respite. Government will give them some more time before they are asked to evict. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Now, military men have been airlifted to Jijong and Timbon in the Chiripone district of the Northeast region to restore calm where residents renewed clashes of a 5-year-old land dispute. The youth are reported to have fled the community, leaving the old behind after one person was killed and others injured. Our correspondent, Eliasu Tanko, joins us with the latest. Now, Eliasu, what's the latest in these renewed clashes between residents of Jijong and Timbon?
The latest is that the security has been able to assess the community, and they are currently in the community. We understand that the communities have been emptied of the residents. They have fled the town, and so it is only the military currently patrolling that particular area. But we do also understand that the residents of Tibong, the community that was attacked, some of them need to come back to the community. So yes, 16 houses, we are told, have been burnt. These were houses that were already burnt in earlier clashes in the community. Sorry, in these two communities. And so yesterday we are told that the violence renewed yesterday and continued overnight because the local police in the district were not able to assess the communities because of the bad nature of today's particular communities. A decision was made for some military officers to be airlifted from Tamale. And so this morning there was another security team that was also airlifted from Nalirgu to these particular communities. And so, as we speak, the military, the security, and defense forces are currently in the community, in these particular communities.
We also understand some 12 persons were remanded by the Nalirgu District Court for familiar clashes last month.
Yes, and these are the communities of Balo and Sangong. That particular incident occurred on the 25th of last month. And that the community called Sangong was attacked.
Okay. But now, again, so tell us about so what's happening to that particular, these 12 persons who were remanded by the Nalirgu District Court?
Yes, they were arrested after the police intelligence forces trailed them, and 12 of them currently this morning they appeared before the district court, and they have been remanded to reappear next week for the case to continue.
All right, thank you very much for the latest. Yeah, that's our colleague there, Eliasu Tanko. Let's now, military men have been airlifted to Jijong and Timbong in the Chiripone district of the Northeast region to restore calm where residents renewed clashes of a 5-year-old land dispute. The youth are reported to have fled the community, leaving the old behind after one person was killed and others injured. Now, we also have on the line the Northeast Regional Minister, Yidana Zakaria, to help us with more on this development. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. What is your own reading of what's happening in these communities? Chief, thank you so much for your time here. What is your own reading of what's happening in these two communities? Okay.
Thank you. Good evening to you and to your cherished viewers.
So if you heard me, I was trying to find out from you what you make of what's happening between these two communities.
Thank you, and good evening to you and to your cherished listeners. I think I just don't know how to. Yes, We are all taken by surprise. But this is the third time the same communities have engaged in these clashes. The first happened, somebody unfortunately lost his life. We intervened. We even involved His Royal Majesty, the Chief of Saboba, to help us find answers to the problem. Then there was a reprisal attack. After the reprisal attack, we still made efforts, appealed to them to give peace a chance. When we thought it was almost over, yesterday in the evening, 2 other communities came together and attacked Junjun community, and unfortunately, 1 person lost his life, and a number of houses burnt. So currently, that is the situation. It has been brought under control, but we think that we must do something different to restore permanent peace in the area.
You seem worried, and we understand these clashes started about 5 years ago. What has been the effort to ensure that there's peace in these 2 communities and to prevent more death and avoid damage going forward?
Thank you. When it happened, at both the dissect level
Hello,
Thank
sir.
you for the question. When the issue happened, at the dissect level, the District Security Committee, several meetings were held to try to find answers. Then, at the RESEC level, we got involved to the point that I traveled from Nalergu to meet His Royal Majesty at Saboba. Then, the Chief of Saboba, sent a delegation to go and engage the communities involved in some discussion. Aside that, the Konkomba Youth Association has been very, very active in these matters, trying to restore peace. And I commend them for their efforts. So they have supported even with food and roofing material to restore houses that were burnt in the first attack. So when we were all trying to find answers, then this reprisal came up. So effectively, both the DISEC and the RECSEC in the Northeast region are working hard to restore peace. And we have been surprised by this. But I still think that His Royal Majesty, the Chief of Saboba, and Koya, we will still engage them to try to help us settle this issue.
All right, wish you all the best in these efforts. Now, still to come, affordable accommodation is a challenge for level 200 students. Sandra Apia will tell you more in today's edition of the Living Standard series. Now, from the first week of September, children in Boteman will no longer risk their lives to get education on, by walking on a more concrete bridge than walking through the water. This is because the Tema West Municipal Assembly has begun constructing a footbridge over Boteman Stream. This action follows a Joy News report highlighting the plight of school children who walk through the stream to get to school daily. I visited the construction site, and this is what my lenses captured. That's how school children in Boteman used to cross the stream daily to access formal education. But that is about to change. A new concrete footbridge is being erected. So this is the Boteman stream. This is where kids in Boteman had to walk through to access education. When we reported it earlier, the Tema West Municipal Assembly, its chief executive, promised to construct a wooden bridge over the stream. But today, it's not just a wooden bridge, it's a concrete bridge over this. Municipal Chief Executive for Tema West Municipal Assembly, Anna Adukwe Ado, explains they had to erect this concrete bridge as a more permanent solution to the problem.
As you said, a wooden footbridge was initially conceived as a short to medium term measure, but upon further soil investigations, the municipal engineers advised that we do a more, or we should maybe have we prefer a more permanent solution. And so we decided to do a concrete footbridge to serve as a bridge for the community. We have a 25-span long concrete bridge with a 3-meter access ramp. Well, we decided to use ramps and not steps because we have that. We have to provide for our disabled people over here. So that's what we're doing now. We haven't done it. We haven't done the ramps because we don't want the members of the community to use it now.
She assures us the project will be completed before schools reopen in September.
We are envisaging that it will be done in the first week in September. It will be done. We've done about 12 days, effective days of work, and this is where we have now. It's still curing. It's still not ready yet.
Albert Bote is a resident here. He believes this bridge will help the community immensely.
Bridge na no the ebebu akwada no ebebu omu because we have 2 years age, 3 years age, 1.5, 1 year. First in the is so tona anyina a flat obi antime den obi antime femu enti se na kupona domu na assembly no obaye sa bridge katikiti wa bia maye e wa ha ne de ebebu aye enye school for no so ya obote manu so no yesu ebebu aye.
Samuel Kojo Brace, Joy News, Boteman. Now, affordable accommodation is a challenge for level 200 student Sandra Apia. At the University of Ghana campus, we hear how she juggles 3 jobs to ensure she keeps her room on campus. There's more in today's edition of the Living Standard series. Now, Parliament's Government Assurance Committee say they have been disrespected after waiting for the local government minister, Dan Boche, for close to 2 hours, yet he failed to show up. The minister was expected to provide update on the committee on specific promises he made relating to his ministry on the floor of Parliament. This comes on the back of Fisheries Minister Howard Kumson's failure to appear before them on the first day of the public hearing. Members of the committee say ministers must treat them with respect. Parliamentary correspondent Kojo Asante has more in this report.
Regret to announce that the minister is on tour with the president and could not come before us. And per our principle, I think they heard us loud and clear, that per our principle, the initial arrangement to have the deputy minister stand in for the minister was turned down by the committee.
This development, however, angered a ranking member on the committee, John Otibles, who said the committee deserves respect and this situation should never recur.
So for some ministers to keep using their tour with the president as an excuse is unacceptable. So we want to draw the attention of other ministers who are yet to be invited before this committee that they should take note. And as indicated by the chairperson, we are not going to accept deputy ministers before us because the promises and assurances were made by the ministers themselves. So they should take note. We are not going to accept any deputy minister before this committee. So the ministers must be prepared to avail themselves before the committee. So henceforth, we aren't going to accept any excuse as a committee. This committee, we mean business. We are not here to witch hunt. We are here to serve the public. We are here to serve the interests of Ghanaians. We are the representatives of the people. So we deserve some level of respect. Appearance before this committee is an obligation.
For this session of the Government Assurances Committee of Parliament, they were billed to meet 3 ministers, the ministers for fisheries, for education, and also the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. They were only able to meet one of these ministers that they outlined to meet. That is the Minister for Education, Dr. Yawase Idichum. The other 2 ministers did not show up, and the committee are not very happy about the situation. They are calling on the ministers not to disrespect the committee. They say their work should be taken seriously and that they are waiting for these ministers to now appear before them at a later date, and that at that particular time, they will not tolerate any further excuses from the ministers. The committee will reconvene next week and hear from the 2 ministers who failed to appear this week, as well as others who are scheduled to have their time. For Joy News, Kwiku Asante, Accra.
And that's how we wrap up today's bulletin. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Prime Business is Happiness with Beverly Broom.